A beautiful graduate student, recently engaged to a middling attractive police officer, both with a bright, promising future together. Now mix in a mentally deranged side chick. I wonder how this will turn out. Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Can you do me a solid? Please subscribe and hit that notification bell to help support the channel. Also, if you could, please share the video, as it will help us grow and conquer this YouTube algorithm. Now, let's get into this heinous case. Danita Smith was a 25-year-old graduate student at North Carolina Central University. She had ambition, she was self-motivated, and had plans for a great future. She excelled in journalism and photography. She met her fiance, Jameer Stroud, at NCCU as well. They got engaged in November of 2006. He moved 60 miles to Greensboro, North Carolina to become a police officer, while Danita stayed back in Durham to finish up her graduate degree. On January 4th, 2007, at about 8 a.m., the maintenance man at the Campus Crossings Apartments heard a gunshot. He said that he saw a woman running away from the scene.
Yeah, 911, where is your emergency?
The Campus Crossings Apartments, the weird gunshot coming from somewhere around here.
Did you hear anybody scream afterwards?
No, this young lady that stays over here too, she like upset and shaking and stuff like this.
The woman was described as being around 5'10" and light-skinned. He said she drove away in a burgundy Ford Explorer. He even said he pulled his car right next to the woman's car and asked if she was okay. She had her hands up to her face. She was frantic, but she nodded yes, and then she drove off. He then called the police. They came out, but then they left because they couldn't determine where the shot came from. Then at 10 a.m., another 911 call was made. The caller said he was at his home at the apartments, and a woman had fallen down the stairs. He said there was blood everywhere and that she wasn't moving.
911, where's your emergency? I just walked out my apartment. She's at the bottom of the stairs, hands busted up and blood everywhere. Her name is Danita Smith. Danita, I don't know if she's dead or not.
Detective Sean Pate of the Durham Police Department arrived at the scene. Her keys, her purse, and her wallet were all over the place. There was still money in her wallet, so robbery was ruled out. Her cause of death was a gunshot wound to her head. She had been shot with a .38 caliber revolver. Jameer rushed back to Durham because he heard something was going on at the Campus Crossings Apartments. When he got to the scene, he was notified of Danita's death. The next day, he spoke with police. He stated that he was at home in bed because he had worked the night before. They asked him if he knew of anyone who drove a burgundy truck. He said, yep, he did. Well, while living in Greensboro, he crossed paths at work with a woman named Shannon Crowley. Shannon Crowley was a single mother of 2 kids. The father had moved to California. Wonder why. She worked as a 911 operator at Guilford Metro. They started fooling around in 2004, 2005, and she drove a red Explorer. The next day, the police went to her job to question her. She told the police that they dated, but then they broke up when she didn't want to have a baby. The police asked her if she knew Danita Smith. Shannon said that she did not know Danita, but had just seen her at church 2 weeks prior, and also in pictures at Jameer's house. The police asked her one more question. Do you have a gun? Shannon stated that she did not have a gun. But this turned out to be a lie. A co-worker came forward after he heard about the case because he sold her a gun, and it was a .38 caliber revolver, just like the murder weapon. She told him it was for protection against Jameer. Shannon's parents, Ann and Keith, were interviewed, and they said that they didn't know Jameer because Shannon thought of him as just a friend. But they did become intimate, and she was pregnant with her 3rd child. They also said Shannon was the one who did not want to have another child, so she terminated the pregnancy. and this pissed Jameer off. So the situationship ended. They said Shannon was afraid of Jameer, and he began to stalk her. He was calling at all times of the night, and Jameer was angry that she ended the relationship. Jameer was then brought in for questioning. He admitted to the affair, but he stated, man, that was a big mistake. Shannon was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. She was the stalker, and that she was the one who wanted to have a baby with him. The abortion was his idea, actually, and that he broke it off after that went down. She even joined a church that he went to. Jameer was ruled out for the time being and was free to go, but the police were very, very suspicious of Shannon now. The police obtained a warrant for Shannon's house and truck, as well as her phone records. Her phone records said that she was in Durham the day of the murder, and that her phone pinged off of a tower a quarter-mile away from the Campus Crossings apartments. Her car steering wheel also tested positive for gunshot residue, and police were confident they had a case now. On January 9, 2007, Shannon Crawley was arrested for the murder of Danita Smith. While she sat in jail, she told her attorneys she wanted to speak and tell her side of the story.
I decided it may be a good idea to have something to protect myself because he always has his gun with him. And there wouldn't be anything I could do if he tried to hurt me or my child.
Do you still stand by the story that you've never owned a gun?
The gun that I bought from me, I had for all of a day and a half. He said, I'll make it real simple. Either your children die or you die for your children. And he knew at that point it wasn't a question. I told him, okay, that was fine. I called into work. I told him that my son had a doctor's appointment and that I would be late. He got out, took my keys and my cell phone. He went up the stairs. A few more minutes passed and I heard him arguing, him yelling at someone. I got out of the car, started up the sidewalk to the breezeway, and I heard a gunshot. I started to get in the back seat and the door was locked. And I told him, I can't get in, the door is locked. He got out of the driver's seat by sliding up over the back seat and got into the back seat and just told me to get in. I got in the driver's seat and I started to leave. I stopped at the black truck and the man asked me if I was all right. I shook my head no. He said, did you hear a gunshot? I said, yes. He would kick at the chair when I would continue talking to him. And I'm trying to glance in the back seat, but still trying to look at him, getting him to realize that he was in the back seat. I watched the truck go up the hill and drive away from me. And I made the left. And I went out of the complex, got back on 85, and came back towards Green Cross.
Investigator West asked you, did you think Jameer was violent? You didn't know.
I don't recall saying no. He is violent. He's threatened me on numerous occasions. He knows that I'm afraid of him. He knows what to say. I wasn't going to take a chance of him doing anything to him. He knows where I live. He knows where my family lives. He knows how to find me. He knows my routine. He knows where I am all the time.
Now, police believed her story was plausible, but they were still suspicious of her. She was released on bail until her trial, and she claimed she was scared of Jameer, so she moved to Charlotte with her kids and her parents. Oh, but wait, it doesn't stop there. Shannon kept saying that Jameer was, stalking her and calling her constantly. On June 20th, 2008, she walked into an ER in Charlotte, North Carolina, and reported that she had just been raped. She said Jameer cut off her clothes with a knife, held the knife to her throat, cut her thigh, then penetrated her vagina with the knife, and then ejaculated. The rape kit was negative for semen, but she had lacerations to her neck and thigh, and also abrasions to her outer vaginal area. But there were no injuries to the vaginal canal, and no stitches were needed, as per the nurses. On June 21st, she told Detective Zinkman that they need to check Jameer's trash can to look for the knife. Jameer was putting out his trash on or around June 23rd when he noticed a knife at the bottom of the can. What are the odds? He then called Greensboro PD about the knife. His neighbor said he heard a thump on the night of the 19th and a car drive off. Another neighbor said they saw someone throw something into Jameer's trash can and drive off on the 19th. Police state that at the time of the rape, his cell phone records placed him in Greensboro, which means he would have had to have driven 120 miles an hour nonstop to have raped her in Charlotte. Oh, he also had a receipt from McDonald's for that date and time in Greensboro, North Carolina. Clearly, she's insane. On February 8th, 2010, Shannon's trial began. It was a he said, she said case. He said she was crazy. She said he was crazy. Then on February 11th, Jameer took the stand. He said he was so surprised when the police asked him if he knew of anyone who would want to hurt Danita, and that witnesses saw a burgundy truck fleeing the scene. I mean, he knew that Shannon was stalking him, but he never thought she'd murdered Danita. Shannon's parents said that Jameer started calling Shannon again, and that they came up with a plan to have her record their phone calls. They thought they had enough evidence to have him locked up. On the last day of the trial, her secret recordings were played.
You gonna kill me too? You need to tell the truth.
I ain't going to jail.
And I'm supposed to, because I didn't do?
The prosecution said that Jameer had a very unique and deep voice, and that the voice on those tapes were very high-pitched. Friends and family also thought the voices were different, and they started thinking that, wait a minute, maybe Shannon was manipulating everyone. A lot of people and the police said that she probably hired someone to play Jameer, and that they were trying to set him up. Shannon Crowley was found guilty of the murder of Danita Smith and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Danita's mom had this to say in court.
I hope you rot in hell. Because you took something from me. You had no right to do that. She didn't do anything. You shouldn't even know you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as long as humans exist, people will be having some extracurricular activities going on. This happens in relationships, marriages, situationships. Doesn't matter. People will cheat. But the danger isn't just getting caught or STDs. It's also nutcases like Shannon Crowley. I mean, this guy brought a nutcase into his life. A nutcase that ended up costing Danita Smith her life. And Danita had no idea what was going on. Now, Jameer didn't pull the trigger, but I know he feels some responsibility for his fiance's death. And he has to live with that burden for the rest of his life. So, before you go out to get that different meat, ask yourself, is it really worth it? Hell yeah. Hey, thanks again for watching. And until next time, I am out.